In an event that only 1% of the entire comic book community has actually read, but seemingly everyone remembers from either Comicstorian or Comics Explained's video of it, the end of the multiverse was at hand in Superman Beyond #2, or as most of us generally know the entire situation as Final Crisis. In a last bid of desperation, a coked out Dr. Manhattan Superman fuses the two fundamental opposites of Superman together to overcome the final barrier of the multiverse as they had known it, to move to a higher dimension, beyond limbo, to a transceiver meant to contain such dual symmetries. That transceiver, of course, being the cosmic armor itself. These two opposite Supermen, the hate crime as well as the selfless act, the Superman of Earth 0 and the Superman of Earth 3, Ultraman, combine, and there they take on Mandrake and save the day from one of the worst events that has happened to DC. But what if our Superman, the Superman of Earth 0, didn't actually receive full control over the cosmic armor? Worse yet, what if Ultraman had full control of that armor? How would that change things? Let's find out. What's up, guys? It's me, Lumos Theromax, and as usual, I'm slapping you guys with a classic banger, but honestly, this one was brought to you by channel homie Crumb, as he sponsored this specific video, and you can too. If you're interested in something like that, hit me up on my Discord. It's as simple as a Cash App, and we'll make it happen, because I cover all sorts of content whenever it comes to DC specifically. So, if you want a video just like this, let me know. And what ifs are something I've always wanted to do on the channel, so I'm pretty hyped to get into this bad boy. So, let's do that. Let's get into what happens if Ultraman was in control of CAS. What happens if we get Ultra CAS? So, unlike the original story of Superman Beyond issue #2, things are actually going to change quite a bit from what had happened inside the canon version of the story, because obviously we're changing one of the most core pivotal things within the story itself. But to understand that, let's revisit the idea of who exactly Ultraman is and where he's from, so we can kind of understand his perceptions and his ideologies whenever it comes to exactly what he would do. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Ultraman in Earth 3. Now, when you traditionally think of Superman, you think of his motto. You know, the classic truth, justice, and the American way meme, right? Well, Ultraman is not that guy. And, in fact, he's actually the opposite of that guy. Remember when I said earlier that Earth 0 was the selfless act? Well, also remember that it was Ultraman who fused with CAS, and it worked because they were fundamental opposites, or like symmetries into themselves. This would make Ultraman the ultimate hate crime. And both he and where he comes from lives up to that level of insanity, but honestly, probably even crazier than that if I'm being real. So, welcome to Earth 3. A world where crime is the government and the villains are actually the heroes from our universe. Ultraman, being the evil version of Superman in this reality, finds himself in their criminal version of the Justice League known as the Crime Syndicate. They rule over the entire world, the Crime Syndicate, the world of Earth 3, whenever it's not exploding, getting rebooted, and reforming with an absolute iron fist. These guys let nothing happen they're not aware of. And they kill and eliminate any resistance, which includes like the heroes of this world, which are really just the traditional villains from like the Earth 0 or like the main continuity. And all of these figures have like slight variations to their power set. To give you an idea, like Ultraman specifically, since we're talking him, is like a killer addict, okay? And he needs kryptonite to gain his powers in the first place. And basically, as you can see in this scan here, he just crushes up a bunch of this stuff, I-beams it, and then like snorts it, okay? Dude, he snorts it like it's cocaine. I can't say anything other than that. Look at this panel, bro. It's wild. Even Lex Luthor back here is like, yo, that's kind of whack now that I'm looking at it. You know, that's a little crazy. Superman shouldn't be doing that. So, Earth 3 is an incredibly messed up place. This should give you an idea of the philosophies and ideologies of Ultraman. Ultraman is a totalitarian who doesn't believe anybody has the right to rule unless they are powerful. And he sees himself as the most powerful on his world, and thus he has the greatest right to rule over anyone. This is why he consistently fights characters like Alexander Luthor whenever he's trying to amass more power down the way, because I mean, obviously, he doesn't want anybody stronger than him maintaining any level of position, because that's just how Ultraman flies. He's a total dick, and that's just kind of the concept of his character. After all, he has to be the opposite of Earth 0 Superman, and that guy's the ultimate homie. How could this guy not be an a-hole? Now, with a brief discussion of what's going on with Ultraman before he even arrives in the Superman Beyond series, we have like a general idea of where he's at. Now we look at the events of Superman Beyond, where Ultraman and Earth-Zero Superman come across the other multiverse of Superman, and one of those is good old knockoff Dr. Manhattan Superman named Captain Alan Adam. And of course, with the help of the Monitor, Captain Alan Adam, and all the Supermen, they wind up on this multiversal ship from the Monitors, which travels them all the way up to Limbo. And I say up because that's the furthest point in the multiverse as they know it in this story, because there was a limited amount of information that came out at this time. Now, it is here where Captain Alan manages to merge the dual symmetries of Superman, the hate crime and the selfless act, Earth-Zero Superman and Ultraman together, okay? And after he does that, this is where things get really interesting. Both Ultraman and Superman are sent to Nil, the homeworld of the Monitors. That was the higher transceiver they were talking about. And in the traditional story, it's Earth-Zero Superman who is thrown inside that machine with Ultraman, but Earth-Zero Superman pilots the cosmic armor. But we can hear Ultraman in the background screaming throughout his story. However, this is where things tend to change from the original series. The what if we're discussing today is what if CAS was piloted by Ultraman? You see where things kind of get complicated whenever we reach this point in time, because Ultraman's a very different figure than Earth-Zero Superman. He has to, by definition, he's the opposite. So, exactly how different do things get? There are two specific paths I believe that this story will take as a result of everything that could possibly happen in this storyline whenever it comes to Ultraman basically having all the powers of CAS, piloting the cosmic armor himself. Now, the first take is going to be rather unfortunate, because Ultraman really is as shitty as a dude as he was in not just this story, but in every other prior version of himself. I mean, take a look at the Ultraman here. Ultraman here reads a book about Mandrak where he was just in it, and he was about to take that Monitor ship by force behind Superman and spread the new gospel of Mandrak world to world across the multiverse. And if he really does give in to this same kind of concept, if he believes that Mandrak is still beyond him despite piloting the armor, this is problematic beyond imagination, because then we have two Mandrak level figures who will essentially team up at the top of the multiverse. If he does give in to like the word of Mandrak or wants to team up with Mandrak, this becomes incredibly bad, because Ultraman traps Superman inside the armor with him. Without Superman, there's like a variety of problems in this story, especially moving on from here, because Superman was kind of pivotal at a few different moments. But the bigger problem is no one stops Mandrak in this situation. And if no one stops Mandrak while he's here, the entire multiverse is essentially going to be bled dry of all of its stories, because Mandrak's going to suck that up like a milkshake, bro, because that's kind of what he and the Monitors like to do whenever it comes to the bleed, because they feed on that stuff. They're all like cosmic vampires, if that makes sense. Now, with no Superman to fire the Miracle Machine, both Ultra CAS and Mandrak are going to kill Nick Suotan. That's important because it was Nick Suotan who rolls up together with everyone present, and with like the entire multiverse of characters, all the Supermen, the Green Lantern Corps, everyone. He summons them together. Later on, it says that Nick Suotan was the guy who activated like the multiversal immune system for problems like this. And if they get wiped, creation is done at that point in time. And I'm not gonna lie, we'll probably be looking at an event pretty similar to the Smile event, where something occurred that blew up all of creation, everything was completely wiped away, and even if that happens, even if the multiverse is completely negged, guess what? God himself shows up and smiles. And when he smiles, he recreates everything that was. So if he doesn't want something to happen, if something does happen that he doesn't like, he can just recreate everything that he really wants to. So consider that for this kind of scenario. That's how bad I see this specific scenario getting. But let's talk about the more interesting, the more likely outcome, in my opinion. In all reality, I think that Ultraman is the kind of guy to believe that nobody is above him, especially when he has the power to rival any opponent. Even though Superman in most cases is always seen stronger as Ultraman, this man still steps up to start throwing hands with him regardless. I find it far more likely for me personally that Ultraman, with the newfound power of CAS, will not only awaken Nil like Superman did, but be far more aggressive than Superman was. Ultraman would most likely kill all the monitors of Nil for thinking they were beyond him, and or for figuring out that these guys were watching his universe continuously explode, and they were monitoring it, and they didn't do anything about it. And plus, nobody can be stronger than him. He's Ultraman. That's how he's like, he's blinded himself into genuinely believing that, especially getting high on the supply of the cosmic armor. I definitely believe that that's the case. On top of that, with the insane powers of the cosmic armor, killing all the monitors present wouldn't really be anything too wild, in all honesty, because CAS in the first place was already seen as beyond any of them. They didn't even know what to do. They didn't even know what it was. That's how advanced the technology was, even compared to the rest of the monitors that exists. So I don't think so that he would destroy Nil entirely, as this entire world would effectively be his throne from now on, looking down on the rest of the multiverse that he now will wish to control with the insane powers of the cosmic armor. Now, once there, dude, he will feel like he is on top of the world, and he will either have wiped out all the monitors or will be in the process of wiping out all the monitors whenever Mandrak shows up. And Mandrak would arrive within seconds and realize this is not Superman, this is Ultraman. And thus the bleed he rolled up with has no intrinsic value to Ultraman whatsoever. Both figures will wish to control the multiverse, but with different designs. Mandrak wants to slurp up the multiverse like a Baja Blast from Taco Bell, not that I'm sponsored. And Ultraman's just gonna want to control everything. He's gonna want to make the entire multiverse ultra crime in general, which in all honesty, Perpetua would be chill with, bro. I think honestly that would be like the best case scenario for Perpetua, in all honesty. But either way you look at it, Mandrak is not going to be cool sharing, I think, in 9 times out of 10 with anyone. Even if they want to team up, I think Mandrak's going to betray him. I mean, he's even done that later on stories whenever it came to like what is it, the Bad Samaritan and other people who've worked with him. He just lures people to help him out, and then he draws all their stories out because he's like an a-hole too, right? And it'll be funny because you have like ultimate narcissism on both sides, like arguing for their cases. And eventually they're just gonna start clashing like two toys in a playground, man. So a fight is going to break out between Ultra CAS and Mandrak. And despite Superman from Earth Zero yelling at him in the distance to hold back and give him a chance, Ultraman's rage blinders that are on are going to keep him from caring about anything that Earth Zero Superman says. Similar to how Earth Zero Superman refused to listen to Ultraman whenever he was stuck inside the canon story. So the fight is going to play out somewhat similarly to how it does in canon, but this time I actually think Ultraman will land more significant blows quicker, because unlike Earth Zero Superman, this guy's not holding back. He's gonna go out 100%, and every time he adapts, he's gonna be going even harder, right? There's no excuse for him to be holding back whatsoever, which is like Superman's entire get up from Earth Zero, I swear to God. But this is where we'll depart, because in the canon story, CAS threw Mandrak out to the Overvoid, and during the battle was blinded. Damaged beyond repair. And I think this may change this time around, because even if he still gets blinded, Ultraman's the kind of guy to take trophies and to humiliate people. I don't think Ultraman will throw CAS off the side of Nil. I don't think he would throw him into the Overvoid. He would keep Mandrak as his body as a way to demonstrate he was beyond everyone else in the multiverse, and even beyond in his eyes, even though we clearly know the truth of the matter. Beaten and broken, Mandrak's body could do nothing, as he was crippled in this fight with Ultra CAS, and either becomes his prisoner or Ultra CAS will 100% kill him. I think he'll take him prisoner, which could lead to a variety of problems down the way for sure. However, that wouldn't stop the contaminated monitor, aka Roxogama, who's becoming another Mandrak down in the Ori of Worlds. Nor would we now have someone like Superman to fire the miracle machine. This would lead Nix Wotan into conflict against this new Mandrak, where he would be entirely defeated by his army of Supermen and the Green Lanterns who arrive at the end of the original Final Crisis, I believe issue 7. But Ultra CAS would sit on Nil victorious after his battle with Mandrak, now feeling like he controls everything in existence from Nil. But unlike Earth Zero Superman, who attempted to fix the Ori and even split himself back into 2 parts down into creation, Ultra CAS wouldn't do this. He would bask in his victory, thinking no one could fight him now while he licks his wounds, even if he is blinded. The cosmic armor is way too strong at this point in time in comics, and he still holds like the Earth Zero Superman hostage inside himself. And unfortunately, that will indeed lead to the death of Lois Lane. A rather tragic end, is it not? Lois Lane dying, Superman being unable to stop them. But it doesn't end there. There's always hope inside of DC. You see, the cosmic armor couldn't leave Nil, just like the monitors couldn't. They used germ constructs to send the monitors, or false versions of the monitors, and their ships into the Ori of Worlds, as they were too massive of concepts to fit inside the multiverse and navigate it without destroying or harming it to a very large degree. Ultra CAS would be no exception. With no way to interact with the germ worlds fast enough, or with his own intelligence quickly enough, Ultra CAS would just simply have to bask in his own glory until the end. But the end would come a lot sooner than I think Ultra CAS would anticipate. Why? Well, Nix Wotan and his army of Supermen will still be able to fire the Miracle Machine. This time with Nix Wotan making the wish instead of Superman. Nix believed that Superman had a unique idea of how the monitors operated. I mean, just as seen here, he believed in the heroes throughout his entire story. And I don't believe there's a reason that he wouldn't make the same wish that Superman did upon the Miracle Machine inside of canon, since he knew the flaws of all the monitors and the damage that had been done to the multiverse up until this moment in time via Final Crisis. Nix Wotan would wish for what's best for all of the multiverse upon the Miracle Machine. And what exactly does that mean? Well, you get an idea in the panels behind me right here. The entire city of Nil was affected by the firing of the Miracle Machine, as they were all entirely destroyed besides Nix Wotan. But, as I said, on Nil, wait, that's where Ultra CAS would be celebrating his victory over all of existence. Unfortunately, Ultra CAS's victory would be short-lived, as just like the rest of the multiverse, Nil and himself would be altered by the Miracle Machine, rewriting the end of Final Crisis in a way that saves everyone present, even monitors included, Superman and CAS as well. Or I guess I should say Ultra CAS in this situation. But you don't think that the Miracle Machine could work on CAS? Well, there's nothing indicating that the cosmic armor actually survived the event of Final Crisis. Why? Well, let's dig into that. Throughout the history of DC, we actually see multiple people revisit the location of Nil, and even author statements confirm it's the exact same Nil from Final Crisis. And oddly enough, no one has ever come across the armor, even though they've come across the tombstone that he specifically left. He should be right next to that tombstone, yet he was not. This, to me, is evidence that the cosmic armor was removed from reality via the Miracle Machine firing, to keep figures just like Ultraman and Mandrak away from technology on the caliber of the cosmic armor. But where exactly does that leave Mandrak in this situation? In the original timeline, Mandrak had fallen off the side, or I guess he'd been thrown off the side by CAS, and as a result, he was outside of the firing range of said Miracle Machine because he was cast out into the Overvoid, beyond where they essentially had any effects, and later on he fell into the Dark Multiverse. We don't have any evidence the Miracle Machine affected anything outside of the positive matter multiverse in Nil. So that to me makes things kind of interesting, because at this point in time, Mandrak is on Nil, not outside of it anymore. So Mandrak logically would also be caught up inside an event of this caliber. And if Mandrak is alive, Mandrak would also be just completely unwritten by the Miracle Machine to make the multiverse, to grant the perfect wish into the multiverse. If he kept his body as a trophy, even his body would be eliminated, as all of the monitors were entirely eliminated besides Nix Wotan, and even he was left as the only one, the super judge from that moment on. But regardless of anything, it appears that this might even be a better ending, because Mandrak often returns randomly to try and continue his work destroying everything inside the multiverse, be it drinking everything. So with no more Mandrak, we would entirely eliminate those problems down the way, and we wouldn't see him inside the dark multiverse, nor would we see him in like the unexpecteds as time goes on, because much like the rest of them, they'd be eliminated. Even in a separate timeline where Ultraman becomes the mind of CAS, or the cosmic armor, the multiverse still survives. And honestly, it may do way better than before, since, like I said, they entirely destroy Mandrak's body this time around, not giving him a chance to come back in any shape, way, or form. But why don't you guys tell me what you think? What did you think of this alternative take of what goes on in case Ultraman winds up becoming CAS himself, or the cosmic armor itself, piloting it? I think it's a really interesting idea, but I'm curious to hear what you guys say. You guys always type up the most interesting things in the comment sections whenever you're not just full of haterade. So I'm really interested to see what you guys think. And honestly, I'm curious to see what other creators will come up with whenever it comes to this idea, because I know there's a lot of other creators that I see as peers who cover a lot of cosmic armor stuff. So I'm curious to see what all they come up with. And if they do make a video on the topic, hopefully they give me a shout out. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like the topic, and hit up my boy Krom, dude. That guy sponsored this bad boy, and I apologize it's been taking so long. As you guys can tell, I'm in the middle of moving again, so things are a little bit wild for me, but we're making it happen. You guys just wait until you see the next place. Dude, I'm gonna have a whole setup for y'all. It's gonna be lit. But no further ado, I'll catch you next time, Lanterns. Later.
You'll join my list of dead after I tear you in half. And I laughed at the thought of them controlling me. I'm the ultimate dragon that spawned everything. I resist and